Real Deal Podcast on this 14th of June 2018. I'm your host, Cyril Gerald Quinn, taking you for the next at least 45 minutes as we discuss the world of sports and pop culture. As always, the call number is 347-215-6180. You can follow me on Twitter at William Gerald or go to my Instagram handle at Rillo Gerald Quinn, iTunes.apple, iTunes.apple.com, Real Deal Podcast. We are here on a Thursday evening. YouTube, Blog Talk Radio, no Facebook. It's kind of like, you just got to leave one of them out. You can't have all three of them at the same time. But we are live here on YouTube, this streaming live on YouTube. And of course, we would make a live return to Blog Talk Radio. No more. I shouldn't say no more because we're going to pre-record some shows, and I'm sure in the future. But this is a live Blog Talk Radio broadcast, and I'm certainly happy to have you here as we transition to the off season of sports. In essence, in many ways, out of the four major sports, you only have one going on right now. That, of course, is baseball, and we know baseball, lasts forever. Playoffs don't start till October. It won't end. The World Series won't end until basically until November. So you can kind of take your time with baseball. Of course, the NBA season ended early this year because the finals started May 31st. So you don't have that. NFL getting ready for the off season. The NFL, that's still a ways away in terms of preseason, and but so you have that to talk about in a few weeks. Training camps will be around. Training camps will be here before you know it. But there always is the NBA, which has become frankly a year-round sports. And the NBA right now, it used to be that football was the only year-round sport, with the draft, post Super Bowl with the draft, OTAs, free agency, training camps. But now the NBA and what goes on in the NBA clearly has become a 12-month sport. So you're going to have that. June 29th, of course, LeBron James will be eligible to either opt in or opt out of his contract and become a free agent. Many, of course, expect him to opt out of a $35.6 million deal for 2018-2019 season and outright become a free agent where he can, of course, sign either a super max deal with Cleveland or a max deal with a potential suitor. Who that suitor will be, we still try. Nobody knows. Again, I've been on record as saying, and I believe that it's basically a done deal that LeBron James will be a Los Angeles Laker. But who knows with LeBron? The thing about LeBron's decision versus Miami, when you think about it in comparisons, is when he went to Miami with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, you knew at some point they were going to win championships. Now they didn't win six, seven, eight. They won 2 and 4 years, made to the finals all 4 years. But you knew with that amount of talent, that level of talent, how stacked that roster was with those three guys in their primes, that they were going to win a championship, and more than likely multiple championships. Wherever he goes now, outside of Golden State, which is not going to happen, I don't care what the talk is about him possibly with KD and all this nonsense. That's a pipe dream. That's not. I don't even think Golden State will even take a meeting with LeBron, to be honest with you. But wherever he goes now, whether it's L.A., Houston, Philly, San Antonio, none of those destinations guarantee a championship. That is how far ahead the Golden State Warriors are in terms of the rest of the league, and that is where LeBron James, frankly, is now in his career. Even though, and again, I voted Kevin Durant the best player in the league. Many many will still argue and take LeBron as the best player in the league. So at worst, the second best player in the league. he's still, is still right there and still producing at a high level. But again, he does not move. He does not shift the balance of power in the NBA. Could he shift it in the Eastern Conference? Yes, but he no longer shifts the balance of power in the league. That move in Miami shifted the balance of power in many ways in the league. That is a major difference now versus 2010. I mean, both his moves in 2010, 2014 shifted the balance of power in the Eastern Conference. But that's not hard to shift the balance of power in the Eastern Conference. So that's the difference with this particular move in terms of what decision he might make. Again, I think it's two options. I think it's Cleveland or the Lakers. And if you're the Lakers, the last thing you want to do is have some nonsense by two guys that haven't won anything be even a minuscule deterrent for LeBron James to come to the Lakers. When I listen, I work in education. Have worked in education for 16 years. I feel a kinship. I love young people. I love working with young people from all ages. I've worked with young people from ages, from 16 months to ages 19. Okay, I'm as progressive and as forward thinking as you can be. I'm not the old guy. I'm not the old man saying get off my lawn. I, you know, times evolve, people evolve. Things are not going to be with the way they were 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago. You have to move along with the times. With that being said, it's hard for me as a Laker fan of 30 plus years to hear a story about two rookies rapping about each other, or one of them rapping about the other, coming off a season where the team won 35 games, coming off a season where one of them, in Lonzo Ball, couldn't even stay on the court because he wasn't strong enough. Couldn't even stay on the court because of endurance issues. And the other one in Kuzma had a nice year, in many eyes, overachieved considering where he was drafted, all rookie NBA, but kind of tailed off in the last couple of months, at least the last 6 to 7 weeks. Still, excellent year, but I can't deal with that. Put LeBron aside for a second, and I know that could be almost impossible if you're a Laker fan. I can't take the idea of this is where we're at in 2018, where guys who number one can't rap, are talking about each other instead of being in the gym. Like if Kyle Kuzma and Lonzo Ball got into a fight working out at the Laker facility, I'd be like, okay, that's why I love it. Competitors, two competitive guys got into a fight on the court. No major damage, nobody broke an arm, or this wasn't a Bobby Portis, Miritich type situation. I'm good. I want competitors. I want guys who are feisty. I want guys on my team who are willing to fight for what they, fight for wins on the court. Those type of players I want. But the idea that you're coming out with recording a rap song, I'm thinking again. I didn't listen to it. I don't care what was said about it. Clearly, it wasn't. It wasn't Lonzo Ball singing the praises of Kyle Kuzma. That wasn't happening. I want to hear about guys working out in the gym every single day. I am as connected to the Lakers in terms of just as a fan, putting media members and those beat writers. But I'm on Twitter, Instagram. I follow countless Laker pages. So last summer, all as I heard was Julius Randle and Brandon Ingram in the gym like every single day. Lo and behold, Randle and Brandon Ingram have career years. Okay, even in their short-lived careers, they had. It's not a coincidence that guys who were in the gym every single day come out there and produce at a high level the following year. That tends to happen when you are trying to get better and when you're basically living in the gym. That's what I want to hear in terms of Lonzo Ball and Brandon and Kyle Kuzma. That you are in the gym every single year. Okay, every single day. Excuse me. Now, in terms of the LeBron part of this, and I'm sure the Lakers pulled them aside, which they did, and even going beyond toning down the Twitter or Instagram insults and the rap, whatever if you want to call it rap. First of all, it's an insult to the hip hop culture to come out for these guys to try to rap. And I said it even when Kobe tried to come out with a rap album song with Brian McKnight about 20 years ago. It's just guys, Damian Lillard, these guys just have nothing. These guys have a lot of time on their hands. They can't, they're not training 24/7. So they think male entertainers want to be ballers want to be rappers, but coming out with it, it's a insult to hip hop for these guys to sit up and try to rap. That's all it is to it. But from a LeBron perspective, in terms of what needs to transpire over the course of this off season, this by far since is the most important off season in the Laker history in the history of the Lakers, probably since 1996. The most important offseason for that franchise in 22 years, and of course we know what happened in '96. You still not still, but you take Shaquille O'Neal away from Orlando and you draft Kobe Bryant, and the rest was history. So the Lakers have to hit on something in this offseason. It could be LeBron. It could be Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. It could be, I don't want to say Chris Paul, but they have to hit on something. I mean, DeMarcus Cousins, Paul George, whatever. They have to improve the team through free agency this summer. And all the pressure in the world, all the pressure is on Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka and that Laker organization to return that franchise to where it belongs, and that is near or at the top of the NBA. So the last thing you want to deal with or hear about if you're Magic Johnson, if you are Jeannie Buss, are two rookies going out here and making asses of themselves. You don't want to especially coming off a 35 win a year with a team won 35 games. No one wants to as a Laker fan. Again, when I heard it, I'm saying to myself I thought it was I thought the possibility of fake news existed was in play when I heard it. I just put it to you that way. But again, I don't think overall this will have any impact on LeBron James coming to LA. The plans are already, LeBron coming to LA to me is already in motion. You've heard the rumors you heard Gary Payton talk about LeBron's son enrolling in a California high school. You heard, lawyers, meeting. LeBron again. Things are in place for LeBron to come to go to the Lakers, and I'm not just saying this as this psycho Laker fan wants who has been thinking about LeBron coming to LA uh, since he made himself eligible, since he signed that 2+1 deal last offseason. I want listen, I want LeBron on the team. Make no mistake about it, but it'll be a little bit conflicted about it. To be honest with you, when it does happen, I won't be doing cartwheels. It'll be interesting having because I respect LeBron's game, but I haven't, there have been moments with LeBron that, you know, that he's had, like the way the finals ended, that, moments that LeBron would surely want to forget. But with that being said, you want him on your back. You want him on your team if you're a Laker fan, which I am. Just getting started here on this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. A lot to do here. Big weekend in terms of hip hop with the release of the new Nas album. It will be coming out. I hope 12:01 Eastern, 12:01 Eastern, of course, produced by one Kanye West, and we'll see if Kanye doing all the things that Kanye can produce another classic as far as in terms of production. The Pusha T album definitely was a classic. Kid Cudi, not so much. The Kanye album maybe was a classic in terms of production, but not overall. So you expect some big things in terms of with Nas. I don't expect anything short of a classic album. I really am anticipating this album. Been listening to a lot of Nas. Really, when you go back and listen to some of the older Nas, I'm talking about Nas, '94 through 2002. It really gives you you know a appreciation of how of a savant that this dude is as an artist. I think, again, in my opinion, the greatest rapper of all time. And, most people will say Jay-Z. Some people will say, Biggie. Small percentage will say Tupac or Rakim. But to me, Nasir Jones is the greatest rapper ever. So certainly anticipating his album. A lot to do on this edition of the Real Deal Podcast. We'll get it rolling right after this. 347-215-6180 on this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. Of course, the U.S. Open began today, and the course is winning big time at Shinnecock as you have a four-way tie at the leader on top of the leaderboard with Dustin Johnson being the biggest name at one under. Some of the bigger names in the sport are struggling. Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, Adam Scott, Jason Day, guys like that. Who Tiger Woods is 8 over, and I thought midway through the round that he was in decent shape when he was 3 over, but did not, of course, finish basically with a thud. The crazy thing about it is he's not out of the tournament. The thing I love about the U.S. Open, and I even say I enjoy U.S. Open even more so than I do the Masters, because the thing about the U.S. Open, the course is the star, and the course has a way of making guys who are, and these guys, listen, these guys are great at golf. To hit a ball, some of the ball striking, the putting. You can't imagine how talented a lot of these players are. To play a sport as hard as golf, and to make it look as easy as some of them do, as a lot of them do. But the bottom line is the U.S. Open course. A lot of these courses in the U.S. Open, whether it's Shinnecock, whether it's Bethpage Black, have a way of just making these guys look like look like you know Mo and Joe in terms of being on a golf course. Like right now, I'm telling you right now, no one will finish this tournament under par. No one. Like it's just not. It's not going to happen. If you're around, or if you're 2, 3, 4 over, you will be in. You will be in certain in contention to win this tournament without question. So I don't think Tiger Woods will win. Uh, 9 shots is a lot to make up, but the bottom line is those guys at the top are going to come back to the pack. They're going to come back to the pack. There's all there is to it. Is like again, I expect the winning score to be 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5 over. I'm telling you right now. Um, so we'll see what happens with the tournament. But again, a lot of big names are in major trouble right now. Are in major trouble. Dustin Johnson, you have Dustin Johnson, you have Ian Poulter, guys like that who are near. Jason Duffner is up there as well. So it's going to be it's going to be a tournament where the golf course where par is great. If you make par, you're doing a tremendous job if you make par. So we'll see what happens. Again, Tiger Woods couldn't make a putt. His ball striking was pretty good. He drove the ball fairly well, but he just couldn't make a putt. Missed some easy putts, or missed putts that you have to make in order to be successful and to win that tournament. But with that being said, if he goes out there and goes 3 under and is 5 over or 4 over, he'll be right in the mix. He does not have to post a. You don't, he will not have to post a great score to be in contention because again those guys at the top of the tournament or at the top of the leaderboard are going to come back to the pack. That's all they're they're going to come back to the pack. So we'll see what happens with it with the USO. We'll see what happens. Again, tournament. I think Tiger will make the cut despite being 8 over. I think he will make the cut, and we'll see what happens with that. And of course you have the Nats. Soto has been tremendous in his short night against the Yankees. Shot around 436 feet, and the Nationals got a much needed win against the Yankees, coming off a Tuesday game where they were shut out 3-0 at Yankee Stadium. So they split the mini 2-game series against the Yankees. They will host the Yankees next week. Host the Yankees next week. As far as the Bryce Harper stuff goes, of course, a couple of general managers, executives came out and made comments about Bryce Harper, negative comments about Bryce Harper. Mike Rizzo took offense to it, which I don't know why. Again, if I'm Rizzo, I'm trying to figure out how to make the team better. I don't care about what anybody says about Bryce Harper. I guess Rizzo wants to publicly, I guess this is part of the Bryce Harper recruitment once he becomes a free agent. But regardless of you kissing his ass, you're still going to pay him. I think anywhere from 350 to $400 million to keep him if you're the Washington Nationals. Now it's interesting. A couple of those guys. Now I agree on both sides. A couple of those guys said that he was not a winning player, that you don't build around him, and that he, basically calling him a losing player, which is the furthest thing from the truth, considering that, with the exception of one year, all the teams that Bryce Harper has played for have been division-winning playoff teams. So you can't sit up and say he's a losing player when he spent the majority of his career in the playoffs and winning division titles. Where I agree with some of the assessments is that I would not give Bryce Harper $400 million. Like we've seen that movie before with Alex Rodriguez and with other guys, Albert Pujols in in Anaheim, excuse me, in Los Angeles. You give Miguel Cabrera in Detroit. These guys. It does not work out. Uh, Yankees won one championship after they gave A-Rod that 10-year, $275 million contract, and they won again, considering how much money and resources they had during the Alex Rodriguez 10-year. One championship, I consider one championship to be frankly a disappointment. He came up big in that 2009 postseason, and that was it. So I myself would not give Bryce Harper $400 million. I completely agree with the general manager, with that executive who said that from that standpoint, you don't give him, you don't build your player, you don't put that much into one player. That's especially a non-pitcher. Like baseball is won by pitching. You get the most important aspect of your team is your starting pitching staff. Max Scherzer is the most important Washington National by far, and it's not even close. He is the most important, most valuable Washington National. So that's how you build your team. And again, somebody's gonna give Bryce Harper 400 million or close to it. Somebody. And again, if you're a Nationals fan, you hope it's not the Nationals. I frankly think, but listen, I frankly think Machado's a better player. Like if you had me, if I had to choose between the two, I think I would easily choose Machado over Bryce Harper. To be honest with you, and I like Bryce Harper. I think he's an exciting player. He has a lot of flair. He's definitely box office. He's won an MVP, but he's not a. I don't see him as this generational guy. I don't see him in the mode of being Mike Trout, Alex Rodriguez, Ken Griffey Jr. That type of guy. That type of player. I don't think he's on that level. Albert Pujols. I just don't think he's that. I think he is. I think he's great, but I don't think he's like. Um, I don't think he's an immortal type player like Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Bonds. Those guys were immortal, were iconic immortal talents. I don't think he's that. I don't think he's that player. I think he's a guy who could end up in the Hall of Fame, who could end up in the Hall of Fame, not a guarantee, and who could be the face of a franchise. He could, I mean, again, he could be the face of your franchise. But again, there's no player in baseball. Even Mike, I wouldn't give Mike Trout $400 million. You don't. That's not how you build your team. But again, Mike Rizzo just trying to defend this guy. Uh, we love you, Bryce. We don't care what anybody says about you. We want you here. That's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. But there is that sentiment that Harper is overrated. That's not that's not fake news. Not in a long not by a long shot. 347-215-6180 is your call number on this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. When we return, we will deep dive Kobe versus LeBron. That's coming up and much, much more in this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. We'll be right back. 347-215-6180 is your call number on this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast, 14th of June. Most teachers are almost there, if not there already, as far as being done for the school year. Um, it is a, you want to talk about the NBA season being long, the NHL season being long. The A calendar school year is long. Think about it. You are now. I'm at a year-round school, so we go basically from July to June. But a regular school, for the most part, goes from anywhere from end of August to middle of June or beginning of August. Depending on where you're at. Early, early August, late May. But think about it. It is at least most places are at least 10 months, 180 days. 10 months. You go through Labor Day, you go through Halloween, you go through Thanksgiving, you go through Christmas, New Year's, Easter, you know, Memorial Day. It is a marathon. I mean, a marathon, a calendar school year. So give you see a teacher in the grocery store or somebody somebody who teaches, give them a little pat on the back. Good job. We appreciate you because this is a long year. So I'm telling you right now, it's a long year. By the time June hits, I mean May, June hits, everybody's got the zombie eyes. Everybody's checked out. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being checked out. You can do your job and still be checked out. Trust me. 347-215-6180. So Kobe Bryant, in the latest Kobe, one in the latest episode of Kobe Bryant, because this is about Kobe Bryant's comments are about, in essence, Kobe Bryant and wanting you to remember that he is a 5-time champion, a guy who is the number 3 leading scorer, third leading scorer in NBA history, and a two-time Finals MVP. But what in terms of LeBron James, I saw this coming a mile away because first it started out as innocent, like, hey, take it easy on LeBron, appreciate LeBron, appreciate my 5 rings, appreciate Michael's 6 rings, appreciate LeBron's quote unquote quest. So that was just like a love tap. That wasn't even barely a love tap. Then it got a little darker. It turned into, wait a minute, your teammates are not trash. I don't believe he's playing with trash teammates. I believe, Kevin Love's an all-star. J.R. Smith has hit big shots. Kyle Korver's one of the greatest shooters in NBA history. Rodney Hood's been a good scorer in this league. Now it comes full circle into like, hey, this is what LeBron needs to do in order to win again, and that's figure it out. I had to figure it out. Phil gave me some of the tools to figure it out. I beat a 2010 Celtic team that was the first super team in 2010 after losing to them in 2008. I looked at that roster and basically said, "Hey Phil, how can I compete?" And again, you have to understand what you have to understand about Kobe is Kobe in his heart of heart believes that he's a better player than LeBron. Like if you put a gun to Kobe's head and say, "Who's a better player?" He would die saying, "I'm better than LeBron." He believes that in his heart. Whether you want to believe it or not, or whether thousands of whoever doesn't believe it, Kobe Bryant believes that he's a better player than LeBron James. And it bothers Kobe. And again, everybody has a breaking point. Like I was hearing about Kobe, like LeBron James passing Kobe Bryant after LeBron repeated with Miami in 2013. Just only after his second title. Think about pre-Cleveland, 3 years before the second stint of him going back to Cleveland. Before that, so even after only 2 titles, people were like, "Oh, LeBron's one top 5 ever. He's better than Kobe." That's all you hear after that title. He's better than Kobe now. So this has been going on for like the last 5 years. It's going from that to now where people will say Kobe Bryant doesn't even belong in the same sentence as LeBron James. That's where it's at right now. And Kobe hears these things. Trust me, he hears these things. And it again, you can only be humble and modest and quiet for so long before you say, like, slow down. Slow down. Because from 2008 to 2010, I was in the finals 3 straight years. He had the best team in the Eastern Conference in terms of record, and he could not get to the finals to face me. That's not my fault. He couldn't get to the finals to face me. The 2010 team that he lost to in 6 games, we beat them in the finals. Okay. Yeah, I shot 6 for 24 in Game 7, but we won, and I had 15 rebounds. I think Kobe. Listen, Kobe is as competitive as outside Michael Jordan is as competitive as any player in the history of basketball. Period. And it bothers him to hear when people say LeBron James is better than him, or no, or not even say LeBron James is better than him. When people just go immediately from talk about the greatest of all time argument, go just immediately from straight from go LeBron to Michael. They don't say, well, Kobe's in that discussion. No, it's LeBron and Michael. That's it. That's the argument of greatest of all time right now. LeBron, Michael, a little bit of Kareem, a smidge of Magic Johnson. Maybe if you're old enough, you'll, and I haven't heard this, but you'll toss in Russell. I don't think, and I mentioned this on the last podcast, I don't think Russell gets enough respect for whatever reason, but that's neither here nor there right at this point. Yeah, this is, yeah, Kobe, you know, he's tired of hearing, he's fed up with hearing about, LeBron James versus Michael Jordan. Again, 3 years, 2008, 2010, Kobe was in the finals, won two of the championships, won back-to-back championships, beat the Celtics when they were a super team, got smacked by them, of course, in 2008 in Game 6. We all remember that 39-point shellacking, and the bus almost, basically the Laker bus almost being flipped over, not flipped over, but basically shook by the fans, and that whole wild scene that was in outside the TD Garden, the TD Bank Garden, back in 2008. But again, I believe LeBron's a better player, but I don't think the gap is as big as some people make it out to be. Like I don't see, people say I don't think, I think LeBron's a top three player of all time. I think Kobe Bryant's a top five, top six player of all time. I think that gap is small to me, to be honest with you. It's pretty minuscule. But again, and that's another thing when it comes to some of these lists. It is in many ways a popularity contest in some ways because people love how LeBron plays the game. People love the fact that he passes the ball. People love the fact that he's maybe probably outside Magic Johnson, the most unselfish superstar in the history of the sport. A lot of people don't like the fact that Kobe Bryant scored 81 points in the game. It's hard. It's crazy that may sound, but a lot of people thought, shot too much. He ran off Shaq. He was the reason why the Lakers didn't win more championships. So it's going to be, again, I think the irony of this is the fact that LeBron could be a Laker. That's the thing about how how's that mean go? I wonder if again, to me it's borderline a foregone conclusion that that LeBron James will be a Laker. But how's that meeting look? How's that how's the introductory press conference look? When they have to when they hand LeBron the jersey, number six jersey, and the gold six jersey, we know Jeannie Buss is gonna be there. Will Kobe Bryant be at that? I wonder. That'd be interesting. Will Kobe Bryant be there to help introduce LeBron to the Laker family? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not all the way convinced. Not out of jealousy, but just Kobe's not that. He's not a guy that's gonna recruit players or kiss the players' asses. This is not. He's cut from a different cloth. He's old school. 347-215-6180 is your call number. Poll question of the night: at what point did you realize that you were not going to make the NBA? We all we all had, most of us had dreams of making it to the NBA, or some of us, I'm gonna say most, but 99.9% of us fell short, and there came a point where we knew in our heart of hearts, we didn't publicly say it, that it wasn't going to happen. I just want to know at what point, at what age did you realize, hey, I better hit these books? That's the poll question of the night on the Real Deal podcast. We'll be right back. 347-215-6180 on this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. We are live here on not only Blog Talk Radio, but also YouTube. So once this program has ended, I would say anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes, or I would say even 20 to 30 minutes, it should be live on YouTube as far as the completion of the program. Blog Talk Radio will take a little bit longer. We got to do a couple things after the program as far as editing and what have you with the sound and with the audio. But it will be on Blog Talk Radio before the night is over. Right in time for you to listen to Mr. Nasir Drones come out with his first album in 6 years. It's a long time to not come out with an album. It's a long time. And that's the thing about Nas. Nas doesn't force anything. He doesn't just drop albums just to drop albums or just to keep his name in relevant or in the news. He's patient about when he comes out with his music, and that's why I'm certainly anticipating this album. Hopefully, again, 1201. This album, of course, produced by one Kanye West. Looking forward to that. But speaking of the industry, you saw some pictures. I saw some pictures earlier this week with Beyonce and Jay Z, and you know, didn't think much of the first 2 or 3 pictures I saw. Cuddling.
90
they're
seconds.
cuddling. They're married. One was a cuddle picture that they were both nude. That didn't really show anything, crazy. So cool, whatever, nice. But then the last picture, you had Beyonce standing on the beach with seemingly nothing, covering her ass. And if she did have a G-string on, the sunlight, the camera
60
angle
seconds.
told another story. And at first I'm thinking to myself, there were a couple of stages. Number one, there was the stage that 10-year-old me had when I first saw my first Playboy magazine. Like, damn. And then, fast forward to 30, 20, 20 plus years later, that mentality, thinking like, hmm, this is interesting. From a standpoint of, would I, you know, would I let, I already knew my answer, but just out of the the
10
millions
seconds.
upon couples around the world, especially husbands out there, would you allow your wife to show her bare bottom to the world? And you could knock Jay Z if you want, but part of me feels like Jay Z. I don't think Jay Z had a choice in the matter. To be honest with you, I don't. You want to say, well, why? Why is that? Remember 444 when Jay Z spent basically, you know, an entire album apologizing and regretting his adultery towards you know his philandering at the expense of Beyonce. That type of that stuff doesn't go away That cheating never dies. Even if you stop, it never goes away. So I've heard, talked to, read a few things on cheating and the mindset and the aftermath. That's to me that interests me the most about what happens. How do you recover from adultery? Like, let's assume you don't get divorced, right? You keep it together. Whether you have kids or not, forget about the kids for a second. Let's deal with the husband and wife. Let's say you keep it together. You don't get separated. You don't get divorced. What is your relationship like moving forward after after you've gone through the adultery, and whether it's coming from the man or the woman, it doesn't matter. Adultery is adultery. But and I always was fascinated by that in some respects, and I just wonder if you're Jay Z, like it's one of these things that you might just have to take. Like you're gonna millions of people are gonna see your wife's ass, and you may not like it, but you just may not have a choice in the matter. And I found that curious. I found that to be, fascinating. You know, or maybe he doesn't care. I don't know. Um, I know for me personally, I wouldn't want my wife to be seen by any. I wouldn't want I wouldn't even I couldn't even take the G string that that from that standpoint. I was like, no, this is we're keeping this to ourselves. And keep this in mind, Jay Z and Beyonce, the most famous married couple in the world, prior to 444, they really had done as well as you can possibly do in terms of keeping their personal lives private prior to 444. Now 444, you have Beyonce, pregnant pictures with the twins. 444 comes out, and now these pictures come out, and again, this might just be a part of the process, their healing process in terms of, Jay, you gotta take this shit, man. You gotta just take it. You just gotta swallow your pride and whatever, and this is part of the consequence and punishments of your adultery, Beyonce. So found that interesting. Also, yesterday that Sanaa Lathan apparently bit Beyonce at that party. Uh, I want to say it was a couple months ago. And it was this big mystery. This who bit Beyonce. Tiffany Haddish had some fun with it. She knew, but didn't come out and say it. Didn't come out publicly say it. A couple of days ago, she comes out and finally says that it was indeed Sanaa Lathan, and that's just that celebrity. I just I'm trying to I'm just wondering, drugs, alcohol involved. I don't know. I just think celebrities are just weird. What would possess you to walk up to a person, female or not, and just bite them? I don't get it. Like, unless you're just completely out of your mind and going Hannibal Lecter on somebody, that's one thing. But just how is that a natural reaction? How is that just a natural occurrence? Just to walk up, hey B, I'll say, hey B, and bite her. I don't, but that's celebrity life. I can't. That's why they are celebrities and I'm not. I don't get that. I couldn't imagine that even if I was a celebrity and had tens of millions of dollars. That the idea of being bitten in public or in like it just I don't know. So that's the Beyonce part of the program. Again, it's very fascinating how couples respond post adultery and how if they indeed stay together. I'm fascinated by that aspect of relationships. 347-215-6180 is your call number on this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. That is going to wrap up this edition of the Real Deal Podcast. As always, you can find us on apple.itunes, excuse me, itunes.apple.com, looking up Real Deal Podcast. This episode, of course, will be on Blog Talk Radio, Stitcher. You can find us on there. Um, you can find us in a lot of places, so there's no excuse not to be able to find us. Have a great rest of the evening. So long.